By the way, last week I read the article regarding asylum seekers. They complained to German authorities because they're waiting for the registration for several days to get in German. And even if sort of complaint itself is they just only waiting for the registration. Still they complaining for German government. So getting the country, they have lots of getting increasing frustrated sort of mindset is going to be increasing, right? And this year they are already getting to Germany 1 million people. Before the
800,000 is expected, but that's a quite high expectation, I think. That I don't think there will be that many people.
How they're going to control those people surging power? And they still, next year will additional 1 million, and 2 years later, and additional 1 million will get into German. So how they do?
I think that the answer here is that there's not really a plan.
Yeah, I know that they have no plan.
They just basically at this moment what Merkel said is that okay, these people are standing at our doors. We have we cannot just ignore that problem. So people are waiting for us to respond. As Europe, we have always been forefighters of democracy and the freedom of individuals. So if we do not accept these people, we no longer have any rights to. We no longer have any right to call ourselves a democratic nation. So we need to do something. We need to do the right thing. And that's why they said, okay, we're going to allow
people. Yeah, this is
people.
sort of kind of accept joining the student getting to the university. Okay, how are we going to handle the exam and so forth, and how to. But after getting to the university, the university then should consider for how we're going to handle those people. So those kind of issues, European people still they don't consider what they're going to do.
Well, they are trying to come up with plans, but they have not been successful making plans so far.
I've never read the sort of action.
Well, actually, Uno-san, there are lots and lots of plans. There are lots of plans. We are like probably Europe is number one in writing reports and doing studies and making all kinds of plans that are either never implemented or are just not very successful.
Have you read it before?
Oh yes.
Oh, really?
Oh yes, there are so many plans.
Oh, really?
Oh, we are the champions of making plans.
How are they going to settle these issues? I think this is we looking for a solution for Japanese government people.
I think what eventually will happen, because basically, I mean, we have not been successful. That means that some people will be disappointed. But maybe if we cannot do this, then eventually what's probably going to happen is that people will not get an indefinite permit. So they will say, okay, as long as there is an insecure situation in your country, you can be here. But once the situation clears up, you have to go back.
Not easy.
Not easy. Not easy.
And the more concern is they need looking for family of people with housing, right? Next year, the additional housing. How are they going to handle it? They do not have so housing, unfortunately.
There is, true. There is. We have problems with housing. For example, there are, at this moment, if you read the Dutch news, there's a lot of protests against immigration.
Yesterday, the German pro supporting for asylum seekers guy, some officer, somebody got killed.
Not killed, stabbed.
Killed, right?
Conquered.
Oh, stabbed. Yesterday, right?
A female.
Female?
He's running for major.
Major. Woman.
He's supporting the immigrants.
So, but there are a lot of protests from people who feel threatened by this large number of immigrants. Okay, we're not doing anything to protect our own society. We're not taking care of our own, especially people who are in a weaker economic situation. They feel threatened that their jobs will be taken. People have been waiting for housing for a long time. They feel that immigrants will get preferential treatment, so they will get the houses that they've been waiting for, things like that.
The problem is they don't have solution.
The problem is that they have a problem that.
But they were planning to design it to ask the immigrants to stay in Turkey, not come to Europe.
No, this is impossible.
That is impossible because Turkey is not attractive enough.
They will come anyway. So, or European people make a plan and discuss, and usually they have no solution. Always, right? Always in history, right? Many countries, many people, representatives, there's lots of discussion but no solution.
Yeah,
this is their way.
Absolutely. There's a lot of talk, but.
What?
Islam is a weapon of mass destruction.
Let's try it without the.
Establishment continues to allow and encourage Islam to spread. Well, the May 21st French historian Dominique Feder shocked France when he walked into Notre Dame Cathedral, put a letter on the altar, and shot himself in the head. It was a protest against Islamization and France's new gay marriage law. He said in his suicide note he hoped his death would wake up the nation. Europe is being forced to awaken because parts of Europe are literally on fire. In Sweden a few weeks ago, predominantly Muslim immigrants set fires for several nights. In Britain, a soldier was butchered on a London street by a Muslim. In France, a recent convert to Islam tried to do the same thing to a French soldier, but only wounded him. Amidst failing economies, Europe is continuing to fracture into ethnic tribes that hate one another. Even German Chancellor Angela Merkel has admitted that multiculturalism has failed. It's led to immigrant ghettos inside European cities that are breeding grounds for radicalism and hostility to mainstream society. In Paris, we asked Guy Millier, author of the new book Radical Islam is a Weapon of Mass Destruction, why the European establishment continues to allow and encourage Islam to spread while suppressing Christianity.
The connection between radical Muslims and leftists in Europe is that both are totalitarian, and they see something in common between them and radical Muslims.
A lot of European leaders still seem to fear political correctness more than Islamic terrorism. British Prime Minister David Cameron said, "There is nothing in Islam that justified the beheading of British soldier Lee Rigby by a Muslim, ignoring the many verses in the Quran that command Muslims to behead unbelievers."
David Cameron?
Instead called the murder a betrayal of
Cameron.
Islam. It took the
Cameron.
Somali terrorist group Al-Shabaab to correct Cameron in a series of tweets, saying that the gruesome killing wasn't a betrayal of
writer.
Islam, but a portrayal
Writer.
of Islam. The Rigby murder caused rioting and attacks on mosques across Britain.
Enough's enough.
French.
Our message is enough. We have weak leaders, weak police. Our police, our leaders tiptoe around this issue. This issue is political Islam. It's political Islam that's spreading across this country.
Across the channel in France, opponents of the new gay marriage and adoption law now talk openly of revolution. One group even calling itself the French Spring. They view the new law as a tool of the left to tear down French tradition, and it seems to have galvanized hatred for the leftist government of Francois Hollande.
I think that the main aim of the French government is to destroy traditional families. They speak about rights, they speak about equality, but it's not a question of rights, it's not a question of equality, it's a question of destruction
So this,
of the family.
you see,
In Europe, fascism is on the
this is
march.
Hungary.
Hungary's Jobbik is the third largest party in parliament. Its leader says only a show of strength is effective against the unscrupulous Zionist advance. And Jobbik wants a national registry drawn up listing all the Jews in Hungary.
Yes.
Similar movements are active in Greece, Poland, and Slovakia. Meanwhile, the European Union continues to fail economically. And a recent poll shows that for the first time, most EU citizens don't like the idea of the European Union.
Europeans' faith in, belief in the European project, the fact that economic integration should be good for them. They don't believe that anymore.
In Rome, an Italian taxi driver says Europe should be written off, not Italy. It's Europe that's not working. In Spain, homeless families are squatting in unsold apartment buildings. In Greece, former members of the middle class find themselves sleeping outdoors. It's no longer just Europe's ghettos that are breeding grounds for radicalism. Today, trouble is brewing all across Europe. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
So we see, in only a few minutes, we see a lot of problems that are looming in Europe at the moment. Economic problems, problems of disintegration, one group against the other. We see locals that are disengaging with society. They feel that equal rights, like gay marriage, things like that, are undermining the pillars of their society. We see economic problems. We see the integration attempts in Europe that's not working. People are more and more looking for their roots, and it's leading to conflicts, riots, and more divisions in Europe. And now with the large influx of more immigrants, we more than ever need answers to actually cope with these challenges for the future.
This is unbelievable. There are million people wearing different clothing, and the lady is wearing black, some blanket, something.
Yep.
And many people cannot be patient for allowing those people to get in, right?
But the women that you saw, they are not immigrants. They are second generation.
Whatever, it's first, second generation, but the local people try to kick them out, right? And they try to kill each other anyway in near future. They never allow. Like, if this sort of things happen in Japan, there's many riots, unless social unrest, right? And how are they going to settle down?
But I mean, you have to also put this problem against the other problem that we cannot deny, that there are people on the run, people whose lives are in danger in the Middle East. People from Syria, people from Iraq, people who live in the areas where the IS is now taking place, and this is a problem that we cannot ignore. We cannot just say to these people, okay, tough luck, but you have to solve this yourself.
Oh yeah, but
because we are also part of that problem.
Yeah, my thinking is instead of just accepting everybody those can be into the country like normal ordinary people, but they need to consider sort of a free trade zone and restricted area. Try to welcome those people. 1 million too many, and they cannot handle those people.
Yeah, but there's more than 1 million people on the run.
Yeah, Turkey is more closer to.
Yeah, but Turkey already has more than 1 million people.
Turkish is very close to European people, but Syria is different. Middle East people, Muslim is different. Turkey is even if they are Muslim, but this is more closer to Europe. But still, German had very bad experience before, right? But now is Syrian people, more than 1 million get into Germany. They cannot be patient. My recommendation is they need to consider for those people to keep them into the specific area, not get into their country freely.
But if you're going to do that, how are you going to contain such a large number in a special area?
Oh, this is they need to consider the special camp sort of things in Europe.
A refugee camp.
Yeah, coordinated with European.
So just keep them there and wait till the war is over and then send them all back.
That's right. Otherwise, it's impossible. This is 1 million is one country, right?
1 million is not one country.
Like no.
There are 780 million people in Europe.
Next 5 years or
it's a very small number.
They'll get into 5 million anyway.
I don't see that this is a huge problem.
But they can they accept those people?
We have to make sure that these people become full members of our society, not put them in camps, but make sure that they integrate effectively into society. I mean, in the Netherlands, we have seen in history that immigration can lead to welfare, that can lead to more prosperity. Especially these first generation refugees, a lot of them had the means and the idea to flee their country. Not only the urge, but also the possibility to do that, because it takes money. That means that a lot of these people had the ability to make money in their home country. A lot of these people are educated,
Yeah, some
are young, have the strength.
I don't deny your opinion, but if 100 people get in some specific area, maybe 20-30 people is going to well, but 60 people they are just so-so, and 20-30 people is very negative, they go to real cause problem. So I'm talking about the bottom 30% of people is cause problem. And how they want to do it? 70% maybe okay.
We cannot deny that. I mean, this is part of the reason why we had such a strong anti-movement in Europe against this multiculturalism, because of that 20% that's causing problems.
This is what I want to know. How they're going to settle bottom 30%? How they're going to settle? 30 means 300, half a million
Well,
people.
that is a justified question. Because actually this is where we have a lot of problems. This is also like what is the solution? We have people that say, okay, we cannot accept this. We need to stop this. Like we are a democracy, therefore it is unacceptable that we are going to treat people differently based on their skin color. If people causing trouble, if they are and if they show criminal behavior, it doesn't matter where they're from, they should be stopped. If people cannot tolerate, for example, norms and value in Dutch society, which we are seeing now, because people adhere to radical Islam, they say, okay, there should be a Sharia. They do not tolerate, for example, homosexuals in the Netherlands, which is part of our culture. So it is unacceptable that Muslim youth, that's second generation immigrants are molesting homosexuals in the Netherlands. Things like that have to be stopped. So in that dimension, so the prevalence of democracy, there is a very strong, especially intellectual movement now going on that's very strongly agitating to preserve that democracy, the democratic principle of freedom of speech and equal rights, which means that criminals are criminals and should be treated as such, and people who are part of society should also adhere to the rules of democracy.
Yeah, in the 100 years ago, many people, European people, moved to the United States, and recently, several decades, South American people, even African people, everybody tried to go to the States, Asian people too, and they're looking for the democracy. But the question of Turkey, they are not full committed democracy, just a sort of authoritarian country. But even Turkey is an authoritarian country, they come to the German, and they're going to get the full democracy. This doesn't make sense. This still, they just, all those people try to say asylum seeker, but asylum seeker is a complex, people, right? Complexion, under complexion. So they try to escape from those countries. But now it's moving to German. Too much freedom. So they're going to tell the German government, we need a mosque, or the construction mosque, and so forth. They're going to, the time goes by, they're going to request a lot of requests because we have democracy. Sort of things they're going to anyway to claim to the government, right?
So this actually happened in the Netherlands, and but some of these, like, okay, we gave people the right to build mosques, for example, and right to build their own schools, for example. But then we also saw problems that actually we wanted good education for everybody, equal education for everybody, because equal education gives equal opportunities. And we saw that a lot of these schools that have been founded and supported and funded by Dutch tax money were not doing very well. Money was not used effectively. There was more time spent on studying the Quran than studying mathematics, for example. So these schools were not doing well, and that trend was reversed. So gradually, we see that all these policies of supporting each other, they kind of like start to collide, and they start. We can no longer say everything works together under a single policy. Different objectives starting to collide, and it's no longer it's no longer working.
So what your country doing going to do?
So what we are doing at the moment is actually revoking this trend of multiculturalism. We are more and more, everybody in Europe is going for this assimilation idea. Because there's
multicultural towards assimilation.
Assimilation, yeah. So there is a strong pressure on more pressure on immigrants to just adjust.
Religion?
Sorry?
Religion?
Religion?
Yeah.
Well, for example, there is a law that prohibits to wear burqas in public.
So like Orban is Hungary.
Yes.
The minister said, we don't accept not Christianity.
Yes. Yeah. But Orban is basically is a president who's in trouble, who's appealing to.
He is a civil like a Trump type of person. He speaks out what he thinks, right?
Yeah, but he speaks out what he thinks because it helps him politically. Basically, Orban has an economic problem, and he's diverting attention away from it because Hungary doesn't have any immigrants. What is he talking about?
His character is very similar to Trump. The simple person. He speaks out straight away, right? So just he tried to speak out. We don't want Muslim. I don't want black, right? The religion, it's Christianity. The other religion we don't accept. He is simple. Keep trying this country without any kind of unrest, social unrest, and more safer. Understandable, but European people more wider tolerant mind and how to accept those people because of we try to reject them. They are going to kill whatever. So in no way we do accept the considerable environment. Normal person like to do that, but Trump or Orban is different person. It means a little bit selfish, but he tried to protect himself.
A little bit.
Right?
Very selfish, because I think that the only person Orban is really concerned about is his own position.
Right?
Yes.
Right? This is Trump, the same as Trump.
So.
But sort of people is actually any country, any area, they have 30% of people. So also we need to focus on those people, how to handle this issue. So.
But there are people like Orban are raising their heads everywhere in Europe. We have a lot of right-wing politicians that are gaining acceptance, like mainstream political acceptance. In the Netherlands, we have Geert Wilders, who is a politician, as I think currently, or maybe not anymore, like a lot of these new political parties, they gain a lot of support in the first election, and then once they get responsibility, people see that they do not provide any answers anyway. But Geert Wilders, I think he had the third largest political party, and his main topic was his main policy objective was to send people back. It's like immigrants who had criminal behavior, they were to be sent back to their country of origin. So if you are an immigrant and you are involved in crime, then you are to be sent back to your home country. Other issues that he had, people need to assimilate. Assimilation is necessary. We can no longer tolerate, we can no longer apply multicultural policies because they do not work. It has been shown. So Geert Wilders is right wing, but he's relatively moderate and.
Dutch?
Yes. So, well, Theo van Gogh is a great grandson of the painter Van Gogh. He's a filmmaker, and he made a film also about freedom of speech, together with Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who was named one of the 50 most influential people in 2005. They made a movie about the Islam. She's black, yes. She's a Dutch politician, came from Somalia, and now lives in the United States because she was threatened because of this movie. Her life is threatened by Muslims. She was no longer safe. And Theo van Gogh was killed by a young Muslim, radical Muslim, after making the movie because he was basically insulting the Islam according to people. And basically what they were trying to do is make a statement. Theo van Gogh, yes. Racism is another element that we see, like pure blatant racism that is rearing its head. Like Anders Breivik in Norway, who went to, there was a, you probably remember this, a couple of years ago, in a small island where youth gathered for some kind of multicultural festival. He went there with a machine gun and shot, I don't know how many young people, and because
Norway?
Yes, yeah.
When?
This was maybe 3-4 years ago. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Well, he's a kind of Asperger, but there's also, like, for example, Cameron and Merkel, who publicly announced that multiculturalism has failed, and that the time of multicultural policies are past. Yes, yeah. So we can no longer do that. We need to integrate people into our society. We can no longer.
So multiculturalism failed and moved into the assimilation.
Yes.
Are they talking?
Yes.
Assimilation. What level of assimilation they are thinking?
Well, this is the next question.
Yeah.
That is the next question, because.
I'm talking about religion, or we are talking about like a culture.
No, we are more talking about. Abolishing policies that give special treatment for immigrants. Yeah.
Does any other country take the assimilation country other than French?
France is the strongest example of assimilation, but also in South, for example, in South Europe, like Italy, also has a more of an assimilation approach in their policy. Like the divisions in Italy are enormous, more than any other country. I read this morning on the train that there's only 20% of the Italians feel that foreigners contribute anything to their society. In Germany, that's more than 60%. So there is a very negative perspective from Italians towards immigrants, and they have this kind of like policy of assimilation, just like France. And France has had many difficulties as well. I mean, they completely lost control over their Algerian immigrants, the Tunisian immigrants, especially in Paris and Marseille. So that's it remains to be seen how effective they can be. But of course, it sounds much better to the voters to say, okay, we take a tough stance on criminal behavior and this and that. But we cannot ignore the reality that it is more difficult. People are not the same. No matter how we want to treat them the same, people are not the same. And if people do not have the same opportunities, they will try whatever they can to get ahead. And if society is not helping them, is obstructing them, They will find their ways. So I don't know whether assimilation is actually the answer. Multiculturalism, as it has been implemented in Europe, has failed, and I think there is a general consensus about that. As a policy, it has failed. But on ground level, there are still good opportunities for multiculturalism, because this is what's happening. Of course, like we have different levels of integration. We have what we see in the statistics, like crime statistics and things like that. But there are so many examples of integration that has worked out perfectly well. What the newspaper picks up are the incidents, not where things go well, where people find jobs and lead their lives and pay taxes and what have you. That's not news. The news is the things that go wrong. The way forward is more on a human level, on a micro level, where people do no longer just ignore the immigrants around them, but try to not simply treat them as hosts, but and say, okay, you're a guest here, so you better do whatever I tell you to do because I'm your host. But also try to understand and engage with their guests, and try to learn what their guests, what moves them, what brought them to the host country, and how maybe they could benefit from interacting with those guests. That has not happened. Multiculturalism is also an idea of, okay, just let people do whatever they want to do, so that we no longer we don't have to care about them. They just do their thing. We do our thing, and so there was never any bridge built between these different groups, which led to segregation, invisible walls, visible segregation. That if you go to the United States, for example, I noticed that I went there quite a long time ago, but in the cities, I really noticed that even though the United States is like a melting pot, it's not really melting. You can clearly see the racial patterns everywhere you go. This is a black area, this is an Asian area, this is a white area, and there are like these invisible boundaries dividing the United States. This is also now more and more what we see in Europe, and I don't think that is good. That is not.
The United States is a very good example rather than Europe, because America's land is so huge compared with Europe, and Russia is also very huge. So they can prepare the separate area for isolating from local people, right?
Yes.
So Europe is everybody get together.
Thank you very much.
They're very, very complex people. So what's the problem, right? So I think I'm not sure Dutch is try to assimilate or integrate. They try to make an effort.
Yes.
And not tremendous effort is putting try to assimilate and integration.
So, for example, now in the Netherlands, it's mandatory if you come into our country. It's mandatory to learn the Dutch language and learn Dutch culture. So there's this so-called inburgeringscursus, which is a one-year course where you learn the Dutch language and cultural lessons in order to prepare your entry into Dutch society.
This one example is Australia decided to pay money for asylum seeker to Cambodia, and the Australian government don't want to accept asylum seeker from Myanmar, and so they pay money to Cambodia. So they will accept people. The Cambodia population also big, so this is one way, And European people can negotiate to Russia. Russia is so huge, the land they have, right? And we're going to pay money for you. And Putin likely the shortage of reserve, so very welcome to accept.
Okay, so now I'm a citizen of Iraq. I need to run for my life, and I can choose whether I go to Russia or to Germany. I think I will go to Germany.
Of course, but we will not accept those options. You don't have any option. If you get out of Syria, you should go to Russia. only way. And German will pay money. And America are willing to pay money to Russia. And America is willingly they accept it.
So basically, we need to commercialize the refugees. So whatever country is willing to.
European people is always a problem. Is they try to solve their own issue, but need to consider more at global level. So try to communicate with the other countries and where is a big opportunity. Best solution is the United States of America, but America will not agree. They just only accepted 10,000, only the maximum 10,000. But we just need to look for
10,000 is way too little for.
1 million. So just only the final result is Russia. And Syria people is moving to north. Okay, we're going to accept you. And if the European country will pay money for Russia, this is the last resort. The German, the 1 million, next year 1 million, impossible. So also the lots of problems kill each other. Don't you think so?
So it is an interesting idea to make it commercial, to say, okay, whoever wants to apply for asylum is forwarded automatically to Russia. We pay your airplane ticket, and we pay for your stay to the Russian local government.
It doesn't matter. Always the European people thinking they are trying to looking for solution by themselves. This is a problem. They try to look for their own solution. Okay, they give them sanction to Russia and against Russian air aid to ISIL. I think this is stupid, but America is supported to Russia now. So America can communicate.
So what will happen then? Russia will train them to become like hired soldiers, and we get a kind of new Kashmir.
Oh, no problem. They have big Olympic, condominium. They constructed, right?
But that's not gonna house 1 million people.
No. They sustained. How many people? 500,000 Japanese soldiers after World War II?
Siberia.
Yeah. Siberia, 1 million, 2 million, no problem. They accept everyone. Okay, if they're going to pay how much money? Just 10,000 US dollars per person. Russia, Australian government offer to Cambodia. 10,000? Okay, it's very people welcome. They accept 1 million. 10,000 US dollars per person. Is accept. Right? Russia was going to make some 1 million housing in Siberia. And they try to put all the people for development.
And then what?
Development.
Yeah.
Okay, so Russia pushing ask Japan. You can supervise those people?
I think then some money will start flowing from Saudi Arabia, who's also going to fund these.
Okay, what Putin offers? Okay, instead we're going to give you back 4 islands.
Okay, I think the circle is round.
Right, this is my idea. Seriously, okay, I seriously consider. But European people is too much, independent. They try to solve they by themselves. Nothing global. This is very much local. European people by country.
But there is not at this moment a country that has raised his hand and say, okay, we want to host we want to host these refugees. I don't think there is a country that so far has volunteered, like Russia did not raise his hand yet.
Russia is if German will pay money to Russia, willingly to accept it. If you want
why didn't they make the proposal?
How much money? 1 million multiplied by 10,000 is big money.
Yeah, that's big money.
Yeah.
That's $1 billion.
Can pay for that.
That's $1 billion.
Yeah, they can pay for that, right? Instead of accept 1 million inside Germany. So they're going to send all those people to Russia. And those asylum seekers complain a lot of bullshit, If you don't like it, you're going back to your country. I give you freedom, okay? I give you democracy. But this is your moving language, Russia. If you don't like it, you're going back whatever you want.
There is not democracy in Russia.
そろそろ時間です。
そう私も会議が。
なんか最後にお二方なんかあれば一問ずつでも。
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So why did the European countries discuss about the reason of this migration crisis? I think the most important is to stop the the civil war in Syria. This is more important
Of
than
course.
deal with that refugee or migration problem.
But I think that the basis of this problem is the United States.
Yes, I think so. Why didn't European countries discuss about that?
Well, because actually this problem is not going to be solved easily. I mean, if it would be a matter of just containing IS, then probably Europe would have stood up. But supporting IS means also supporting Assad. So you're not going to solve that problem.
This is because of democracy.
Yeah,
America
not only
cannot
because
support
of the
Assad.
democracy, because of this is the failure of American Middle East
Policy.
This is the result. The most important is America. We should discuss about America.
So
how to stop the civil war in Syria.
No, they don't. They because democracy. No.
Not because of
not
democracy.
It's diplomacy.
Yeah, and don't forget it's not only Syrian refugees. They are at the moment they are the majority, and before that there were the Afghans and,
Yeah,
and
of course,
the Iraqi
not only
people.
the Syrian,
So
the
these are,
Afghan.
so that is absolutely. But they made a mess everywhere, and by design. I mean, their international policy is aimed at creating diversion, divisions.
Trouble has made Europe into different groups, like Hungary oppose the policy of welcoming the refugees to Europe because they have an economic problem.
Well, actually, Hungary is nonsense because no immigrant wants to stay in
They
Hungary.
just go through.
Yeah, just go through. So Hungary is creating this issue because basically they're not doing well economically. They're creating an issue like with immigrants, but nobody wants to immigrate into Hungary. Let's face
That's why
it.
the Prime Minister of Hungary said that this is a German problem.
Yeah.
Germany has a moral duty to tell migrants not to come.
So.
Mr. Kumabashi, Mr. Manju, do you have
My opinion is Japan should accept immigrants or refugees because Japanese people can fusion many other culture like Halloween and Christmas and so on.
So.
Okay,
I really think so too. I think it's absolutely Japan also making a point for human rights and things like that, not accepting any immigrants into their country, not any refugees, is totally unacceptable, and is giving them a very bad reputation in the rest of the world.
Japanese government's policy is correct, you think, so far?
I think it's completely incorrect. They only give money to support local problems, but not accepting any refugees. Japan sits in the continent where most refugees come from, Asia, and accepting less than a handful every year. So it's completely taking its hand of its basically local problems. And this is, I think this is a very bad policy, and this is giving them a bad rap. If Japan wants to become an international player, one of the first things they should do is start accepting political refugees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.